Welcome to DF Tech 101, aka Black Mantles. I discuss information technology, also known as IT people. And so, what we're going to talk about on today's episode is this TikTok ban that has been talked about in social media, in the news. I'm not going to go into detail of what TikTok is because most of you watching this video probably have an account or multiple accounts, but I just want to kind of give you a different take on the perspective of what we're going to see according to tomorrow at the time of this video for Sunday, June the 19th. Who knows? It could be Monday on the 20th as well. But what I was thinking about this is why is TikTok being banned in the first place? Now, I wanted to look a little bit deeper and figure out what are some other things that people are not talking about that could be contributing to this so-called problem that they are discussing. Because let me keep this in mind. I don't have a TikTok account, nor have I ever thought about getting one. However, I've heard people talk about it over and over and over again. And some of the things we definitely want to look at as we're talking about this and gathering the details and everything is you want to also look at whatever type of item or thing or IoT device in technology. We always have to look at the national security concern about that. And so as I was looking through this to try to figure out what makes TikTok so different than any other platform. Well, according to Statista.com, TikTok had an average time that users spent per day on the selected social media platforms in the United States in 2023. TikTok ranked number one over all of them. And there was the time that was spent, of course, was more than a couple of hours, but you had TikTok first, and then after that, you had YouTube behind that because people, of course, went from watching short form videos to watching a little bit more long form content. So more than likely, if you saw it on TikTok and it went viral, it would at some point transition over into YouTube. Behind YouTube, you had Twitter, what we'd also known today as X. Then you had Instagram, and then Facebook, and then Snapchat, and the least of them all was Reddit. However, when looking at TikTok, the US user daily engagement, it has been the most viewed platform on the overall market in terms of social media applications. Now, what does that tell us? Because TikTok has the highest amount of daily users and the amount of users on it at all parts of the time of the day, that means more videos are being recorded. So it's not just the people in the videos, but where it became a national security concern is because it's not an American owned company. So you have to ask yourself, where is that data being housed at? Where is that data being stored? Who has control over the data? And how do you know the people who have control of the data are not looking at the infrastructure behind in the videos? And what I mean by that is if you look at any type of video online, for example, behind me, you see this wall, you see this Raspberry Pi right here. You also have to take a look at that as well as we're going through this because it's going to be a couple of points. Just with any other type of social media platform, and the same rules can apply to YouTube, Twitter, Instagram, Facebook, Snapchat, and all these other social media platforms. We don't know. You don't know the person or people personally who are viewing this particular type of content. The issue here is primarily because it's not a US owned company that is beginning to be a problem, and they are not liking it in terms of they being the US are saying it's a national security concern. Now, when you look at the data privacy issues that's circling around that, you have to look at how TikTok might access users' information, including their location and or their personal preferences. And everything that I'm talking about today applies on a horizontal plane across anything that you have that connects online. Even me connecting this Raspberry Pi online, the data is being housed somewhere. And we never talk about how the data is being used when it's a US owned company because our data and privacy laws are different than what it is in Europe. But because a social media company is owned by an entity that is not in the US, then it becomes a problem. The same thing applied to the DJI drones, the Chinese made drones, which they make some really awesome drones. I have one, really nice drones. And what they were talking about, even with those, is because they were not made here in the US and they were Chinese made drones, that they had the potential of capturing different types of infrastructure that we have, like water towers and power plants and things like that, of people just going outside and just using their drone to like fly. So that was posing security concern, but we never talk about it when we're looking at the devices that we may have within our home. Now, the influence on society is because of this ban is happening. Also, they're looking at when people go online and start saying things off the top of their head, and they're saying things and giving misinformation and or manipulating through the app's algorithms, that is beginning to be a problem. And because the US can't control that, it's got to get banned. But we won't know. I'm not I don't know if it's going to get banned or if it's going to continue to be used. We will see within the next couple of hours. Now, IoT devices, Internet of Things. IoT devices, as I said, will be something like your smartwatch, Raspberry Pi, if you still have those, your Apple Watch, your AirPods, and all these different devices. You have data transmitting through these type of things. We also have to look at smart speakers like the Alexa, the Google Nest, the thermostat, the Google Homes, these smart thermostats, the fitness trackers. All these collect vast amount of personal information. Even with you going to the gym, it collects the information. But being able to look at out of all these devices that's connecting all this data and this moving data, it questions the data practices and they face less scrutiny. Think about it. The surveillance risk around these. How can these IoT devices be used for surveillance, even hacked or leading to privacy and violation issues? When you think about even the terrorist attack that happened down in New Orleans, that man that had these smart glasses on his face, walking around recording from what we was seeing in the media. How do you know the smart glasses could be taken on a plane and taken over to Beijing and you can walk around and record your time in Beijing, or you going to record the Great Wall of China, you walking around, you're recording and nobody knows that you're doing it, the same rules apply. You're recording and you are recording things that you shouldn't be. However, in on social media, when you're recording yourself, you're recording things behind you. So it now is a problem. I really want us to really take a think about this. I really want us to think about this because TikTok is only being singled out for this particular platform. Now, there are the US platforms, which I discussed. The US platforms are collecting the same type of data. If you're using Instagram or you're using YouTube and you're using TikTok and you're recording, you can be in your house recording. Say you're recording some content of you cooking or something in the kitchen. That same video, same physical location. The difference is you better believe that any other social media platform automatically collects data, voice, speech recognition. It records that information. It stores that information. Why would TikTok be any different? TikTok stores the same amount of data. The problem is always where is the data stored? Who is taking care of the data? How's the data being used? The US can't control that. That is one of the primary reasons why we even have this ban in the first place. And I don't even have TikTok. I don't want TikTok. I have no interest in social media like that on that aspect. But I'm looking at it from I'm an outsider looking in and seeing how is this any different than any other platforms that we have. Now, corporations, of course, are going to share your data regardless, anyway, whether you like it or not, whether to other advertisers or to other government agencies without your user knowledge. But you have to look at the fine print, terms of service, terms of use. You have to look at that and really actually see deep down in there if it's shared with third, fourth, fifth parties or whatever. But global tech companies, many devices, not just TikTok alone, have global ties to so many different things which can theoretically pose security risk. So when you look at Google, you have YouTube. When you look at Facebook, you have Instagram. All these different points are connected to one another. So, what could be the motives behind this whole ban? Is it economic protectionism, or whether TikTok is partially motivated by protecting US tech companies from foreign competition? Is it because TikTok is getting more daily average users who's using it more, and US tech companies don't like that because it's more competition? But see, the US can't control the competition on these particular platforms. This whole technology spiel is there will be in the future other applications that will come out that will surpass YouTube, that will surpass Twitter or X, that will surpass Instagram, Facebook, Meta, Snapchat, Reddit. Is going to pass it. Somebody in the world is going to create even a better application. So this is not the end all be all. The US social media applications are never the end all be all. They are the most popular right now, but they will get to a point where other users would create something better. It's coming. Just wait. But then this is what you have to look at as well. It doesn't matter what political aisle that you sit on, political posturing. Could this ban be symbolic of a stance against China in a larger geopolitical conflict? So think about it. Nobody is watching these standard news stations on TV like ABC, CNN, whatever. More younger people are watching social media. They're getting their news from social media. If you push out TikTok, which, as I said over and over, is not owned by a US citizen, it's not owned by the United States, it's owned by someone else who's not here. By moving TikTok out of the way, you are able to control the media that goes through US platforms. So, are you shutting people's opinions being able to be shared online? And just like with anything that you hear online, you have to go back and do your due diligence and do your research. This is very technical and this is extremely deep. There are some other underlying factors that we are not seeing. We definitely have to look at this. Now, when you're looking at it on a universal privacy standard, there is a need for regulation on all social media, not just TikTok alone. All social media needs to have a consistent regulations that apply to all tech platforms, all IoT devices, regardless of the country that they originated in. That is a fact. If you have one standard that applies to all, that will be phenomenal. That needs to be done. That's what we need to advocate for with that. We also need to look at consumer education as well, because we need to understand, how do we protect data when using technology, even when we're using our phones. Now, even with us using our phones, we have to understand that we have to approach this in a way that is going to be able to ensure that our data is protected when using any form of technology. And as we're doing that, we have to have a fair approach to privacy. We have to have a comprehensive, fair approach to the data and its protection and privacy practices, as well as security that does not single out one app and one type of device. This is a global initiative that needs to take place. So, what we should most definitely do is, if policymakers are saying and are working together to ban TikTok, we also have to urge policymakers to address the privacy concerns better in the US holistically, ensuring protections that are applied to all tech companies and devices. And so, as stringent as the protection protocols according to GDPR in Europe, we need to have a form of that in the US, because when these type of banning things come up, we can follow by the book regardless of the country of origin. So definitely, people, like, listen, subscribe to the channel, DivTech 101, aka Black Mantle. Look forward to bringing more technology content to you soon. Please chime in the comments below, because I want to get you all's opinion on what you think about this whole TikTok ordeal, and we'll get back to it soon.